Good day, all of you. It's nice meeting you again. I don't want to say I am missing you, but it is nice meeting you again. Because we are communicating online, technology that I teach you has made it possible that we always communicate online. Even when we cannot see physically, we can still do the needful. That is what we are doing. We have stopped somewhere. That is an introduction to basic electricity in our last week work. Today, we will continue from there to also look at still basic electricity, but continuation of where we stopped. That is basic electricity continues. What we mean is we want to build on what is on ground already, what has started, or what you have started. We are building on it. Continue from there. You remember last week we talked about what are the things we talked about? We talked about current. We talked about circuits. We said we have the open circuit. We have this closed circuit. We also talked about the types of current. We said we have the alternating current. That is the one you will always see from PACN. And then we talked about the direct current, DC. We call it AC alternating, not alternative. I think I've told you. Then we have DC, direct current. We talked about the source of the DC too. Talked about the battery, generator, and so many others. So we looked at the types of current, circuit, and all. Then we looked at it last week. We also looked at where this current comes from. Talking about atom, and then parts or components of the atom, making mention of electron. Do not forget all these things, because we say electric current, from the word electric, it comes from the flow, that is the flow of electron. That is how we get the electric current. Today we are continuing from there to look at the measuring instruments, then accessories, and so many other. These are what we want to look at today. We call it basic electricity continuum. That is, we keep looking at it till we stop where the government wants us to stop. Now let us look at the objectives for the lesson as we have it. That is, you know that every time we always share the learning objectives as we are dealing with or progressing. We always share the learning objectives. What are the objectives for this lesson? That is, at the end of this lesson, one, you should be able to identify the various electrical measuring instruments. That is one. Two, you should be able to state the primary use of the various electrical measuring instruments. You shouldn't just know or identify them. You should be able to state the use of these instruments we are talking about. That is another objective. That's the second one. Now let us look at the instruments that we're talking about. Number one is transformer. You always say you have a transformer, hey, NEPA, up NEPA. That source is from where? That's PACN. And what type of current is that? When you say up NEPA, it is the alternating current. All right, you're a good student, or you are good students. Do not forget the difference between the alternating and the direct current. The the transformer is a device that transfers this AC or voltage from one electrical circuit. Now we know what AC is, we know what circuit is, from one circuit to another, by means of electromagnetic induction. We have also talked about induction the other day. The transformer converts AC from one value of the voltage or current to another. That is what it do. It could be designed, it is made either to step up or to step down. How do I mean? We have the generating station. I've explained to you last week. We have the generating station where the power, like the Kainji in Nigeria, that's where they write it down, where the power is being produced. That's what I mean by electricity generation. After it is generated, it is carried with cable. We call it is carried to one particular zone. Call it transmission station. It gets there. Then from there, they will now know, okay, Lagos State, let us give them so kilowatts of megawatts of light. Then this Ogun State, let us give them. So that is what we call distribution. They now share it to this side. Then from the transformer, the light that comes from high tension cable enters the transformer, it is very, very powerful. If there are few people around that will make use of the transformer there, that will take or tap light or connect light from there, what will happen is the transformer will step down the power of the volt or the voltage that is coming, so as not to blow off their appliances at home, because few people have done or did or connected from that particular transformer. So it can beat down that voltage that is coming from that transmission station or the distribution station coming down to the transformer. That power is very high. That is why you don't come close to the transformer to play with it. But the one that comes to your house, you can touch a cable, you may just fall down. That is being electrocuted. I've told you the other day what it means. That the transformer has the power to step down voltage or step up voltage. That is what we mean. A simple transformer has two or more coils. The one is called the primary coil that receives this from where the voltage or current enters. Then it transfers it to the second one called the secondary coil. The one that receives it is called the receiving. That one is called the receiving coil. That's the primary coil. Then the one or input coil. Then the one that is the secondary coil. That is the later grades. That one, the power received from the voltage is influenced to the other, just like that husband and wife. Just like Adam, Eve received the fruit, it ate the fruit or received it from this serpent, and then transferred to the husband, who is Adam. You know all these things in the Bible. So when the primary coil receives the voltage, the primary coil also transfers to the secondary coil. The one that receives is the input coil or primary coil. Then the other one is the secondary or output coil. That is, both of them are conductors. They are not insulators. Remember, we also talked about conductors and insulator the other day. Let us look at stabilizer. We have all these in our homes. Stabilizer. The word stabilize, to make it stable, that is the meaning. So what it does is the current or voltage that comes, that is the major work of the stabilizer. The current or voltage that enters, it maintains constant of it, making it constant, doesn't go up or go down. It ensures if you plug appliances on the stabilizer or in your house, you're using the stabilizer, if it is 2 watts of power that the appliance wants to consume that is coming in, it will remain that 2 watts. It doesn't go to 4, later come to 1 or fluctuating. No. And the stabilizer ensures it is very, very stable. That is what we mean, constant, maintaining constant voltage. It could be current or voltage, but it maintains it at a constant level. That is automatically makes it constant as it flows. That is the work of. Otherwise, you put your appliances, you see that voltage will just go up and then spoil. That's why when you buy fridge or refrigerator, you are advised to quickly buy your even other things at home, other appliances, you get your stabilizer to keep a constant voltage and then supply it regularly to that area. Because if there's no constant voltage, if it goes down, the refrigerator will do brrr. It will not function. The light will be off. Then later it comes up again. If you see your stabilizer doing that, you know that you need to visit the mechanic or the electrician to fix it, because there's a problem. A real stabilizer, a good stabilizer, shouldn't be going up and going down. Once it peaks after delay, the essence of the delay is you have the red, green, and the yellow light. The red first, when the light enters, it shows red. Later it enters the yellow. That is, it's still delayed. To know, just like you are screening people at the gate before they enter your house or school. The stabilizer wants to know whether the voltage that is coming is acceptable. As at that time, your refrigerator is still off. It has not peaked. It is still off while the stabilizer is on, but showing yellow. Until when it enters the green, that is, there's a satisfaction that yes, this voltage that's coming is good enough for this refrigerator. Then the stabilizer will show green. Then you see your refrigerator or your appliance will begin to work. That is for the stabilizer. Then we also need to look at these measuring instruments. There are many. They are used to measure electrical values, like the voltage. We talked about a few of them in our last class. The voltage, the current, the inductance, the capacitance, resistance, and so many others. We use the instruments. This is the ammeter. It is used to measure the value of current. That is the work of ammeter. This is the ammeter to measure current value. Then this other one is, after ammeter, we also another one, this ohmmeter, to measure resistance. Resistance, the unit of resistance is ohm. We'll be dealing with this thing in our calculation next week by the grace of God. The ohmmeter is used to measure resistance because resistance is measured in ohm. We'll look at those things. This is the wattmeter. Watt means power. That is the unit of power. We'll be dealing with these things in our next week work or next week. The wattmeter is used to measure electric power. This is, you are seeing watt here. The other one, the voltmeter was showing, the ohmmeter was showing ohm. The other one is showing watt. This one now is watt you are seeing now, because it is a watt meter to measure. When you hear watt, you're talking about electrical power. When you hear volt, you're talking about voltage. When you hear of ampere, we're talking about current. These are the units. We will come to this in our subsequent classes. Another one is the voltmeter. It is recorded V. Ammeter was written V. Ammeter was A for ampere. So this one is V. It is used to measure voltage. That is for this. We will soon know the difference between voltage and current while we progress in our, your basic electricity doesn't end this week. The multimeter does many work. It is also called general purpose instrument. It can do the work of voltmeter. It can do the work of ammeter, that is to measure current. Then it can do the work of voltmeter to measure voltage. It can do the work of ohmmeter to measure resistance. So that's why it's called multi. It can double task. It can do plenty things. Do this, do this, do this. It can measure. Many of them. That's why it is also called general purpose instrument. All other ones like the ammeter can only measure current. You cannot use the ammeter to measure the value of voltage. Remember, I said there are instruments used to measure electrical values. These ones, when you have resistance, for example, it could be 2 ohm, 0.4 ohm, 10 ohm, they have values. So these values are measured. When the producer produces this instrument, they have values for each of these things that they put there. Once the value declines, that is, goes down, the instrument begins to function or malfunction. You know what I mean? Working the other side, not doing very well again. Then the LCR meter. This one is like what we are saying, like the multimeter too. Remember, the multimeter was used for resistance, could be used for resistance. That's to measure resistance, voltage, and current. That is for ampere. They can do the work of ohmmeter. That's what I mean. Do the work of ammeter and do the work of voltmeter. But this one will do the work of to measure inductance, capacitance, and then resistance. So we talked about capacitor and inductor the other day. We said capacitors store charge and release them for you to make use of when there is no current flowing again. So it is used to measure the value of that capacitance in that capacitor. We call it capacitance of capacitor. So it is used to measure that value. Then the inductance is also used to measure inductance. That's inductance of an inductor, and then resistance of a resistor too. These are things. It's also like the multimeter. It's a multitask instrument too. I mean, put it that way. Then we also need to look at transistor tester. This one is to test transistor, whether it is okay or not. If the particular transistor is malfunctioning, you just put it there. It will show you the value for you to know, like I said, there's a board meter that shows the values of all these things in that, it could be in the manual. Once you see that one is low, when you use all these instruments to measure it, and you see that, that's what an electrician does. When they see that it is supposed to be 4 ohm, for example, as a resistor, then it's showing 2 ohm. They will know that this thing is having problem. They may not tell you, go, madam, come back later. Your money is 10,000 naira. They have discovered the little thing. They will go to the market and buy that resistor for maybe 200 naira, and then use the soldering iron to melt it there, to fix it. The appliance will begin to work. So They have values. That is what I'm letting you know. All of them have values. That's the electric meter. This one's amount of dissipated energy, or energy that was there that is trying to go. That's what we mean by dissipation. And that's trying to fade out. Yes, that's what we mean by dissipated energy. It is used to measure that amount. This is measure electric meter that you are seeing here. Then we also have to look at the electrical appliances when you have the measuring instrument. I've talked about your television and your appliances. I've talked about the refrigerator. These are things we measure their voltage, resistance, everything we are talking about. It's inside there we measure all these things with the instrument. So there's a relationship between the measuring instruments and appliances. These instruments are used to measure all these things, these values in these appliances. They are designed to do a particular thing at home. That is why they are made. It could be the refrigerator. You know what refrigerator is used for? It's used to cool the water, to make the temperature reduce, to be very, very cold. Then you drink the water. You can keep your things there to sustain or preserve your foodstuff and others. That is what the refrigerator is used for. That is what. So we have other ones, appliances. Let us look at some of them. They are used at home, designed to do jobs at home. They include the microwave oven. We use this one to warm or step up the temperature of soup and many other things. Refrigerator, I just mentioned, talked about the refrigerator. Water purifier, the word purify to make it clean, to remove those germs and all. The water heater to boil your water. The washing machine, clothes iron, the one used to press before you come to school to make your clothes neat. These are the job they do. Clothes dryer. When you wash, even when there is sun or not, you can dry your clothes with them. Put the clothes there, and then before you know what's happening, the clothes are dry. The blender used to blend your tomato, or you use the common language, grind. Instead of using the grinding stone, put them there, you just plug them, they begin to blend. The air purifier, to make air okay, even when the room is smelling, you plug this, you see that the air coming will be very, very neat. Those germs too, microorganisms that can cause disease inside the air, they make them to go. There are chemicals that come from the thing into the air and then purifies that particular air in that environment. That is what we mean. I will display to you some of the examples. This is blender. Almost all of you have them at home. The blender. You can't tell me you have not seen it before. Or the pressing iron, electric pressing iron. The water heater to boil water. This is the microwave oven. When you open it, you put the soup there or whatever I want to be warm. In few minutes, it is because you don't need to begin to look for your electric stove or whatever you call them again. Just put it there. It does not stain the pot or whatever you put inside. The temperature will just increase and then you have it done. This is the refrigerator. Almost all of you too. I know you are good students. Almost all of you have this too at home. You know how to drink, but don't spoil your daddy's refrigerator. Because I've taught you now, don't go and be opening it. This is the door. You open it, then you put whatever you have inside. Don't go and spoil your own at home. This is the pressing iron. This one is dangerous too if you are not careful to use it, because the bottom may eat up or spoil your clothes. You know what I mean by that? All of you have seen these things before. There are appliances that then inside these appliances, we have all these things. We're talking about the resistor, that's electrical components that we have discussed last week. We have them inside. The resistor is there. They talk about the current flowing, the value of current. That is because we have the cable now. All these things are seen inside these appliances. The capacitors are seen inside all these appliances we're talking about. When then you now measure them with these measuring instruments we have also talked about. They have relationship. That is what then the accessories, they are materials that are added to they are just added to the electrical materials to make things complete or for work. Because you cannot say you want to do wiring, you carry hammer. So you want to do wiring, you carry cable and you don't have other things with you. What do you want to use for the wiring? So there are many things that we follow for you to be able to do the wiring. We call them these accessories that we also have in electrical. They include the switch, the junction box, cable connector, we call it clip, the plug, the lamp holder, the multi-plug, surface sockets, and so on. These are the examples of these accessories. If you carry hammer, like I just said, you want to do wiring. Hammer is a tool. The saw you want to use to cut the board is a tool. What of the accessories? What of the switch? When you want to fix a place you're supposed to put the switch, you know what we mean by switch, what to put on and put off. We have talked about the switch last week too. If you do not have that switch there, how will you do it? The place where you're supposed to connect, the junction box is where you connect all the cables coming. So it's like a meeting room for them as a junction box. The clip is the cable connector. That one is used to hold cable to the wall. Then the plug is where you fix the cable to the socket because you don't want it to be naked to have problem. The lamp is the bulb we're talking about. The lamp holder is used to hold the lamp. Switch, I've talked about the switch. Then multi-plug will be one. You have them at home. You can put plenty plug on one particular one. The surface socket outlet, the one you draw out, where you can put your things. These are some of the examples and their uses I've just explained. They have their pictures too, or their images for you to see. I want to display. Yes, this is the plug. You connect the cable here. Now it is sealed. You cannot see anything here. So you can now plug, put it on the to the socket. Then this is the lamp. All of you have them at home. Nobody that does not have this at home. Lamp and even plug. This is the lamp holder. This here is where you put the, we call it holder, the one that holds the lamp. This is the switch. Close to the wall. It's always put at the wall, close to the door, close to the door, or as the case may be in your house. When you want to go out, you do it, just press it, it is off. Once it is off, the circuit is what? It is opened. When you come back, you on it. Once it is on, the circuit is closed. Light will on. That is what we discussed last week too. The open circuit and the closed or short circuit. Then you have the junction box. See cable coming from here, enters here. Red, join to the red here, join to the red coming from here. Black coming here, join to the black coming here. Just like that. You can have them as many angles they come from. Then you join them together there, you bury them there. So all of them will now go to different directions. That's the work of junction box. This is the clip. When you fix cable as it's going, you use this one to hold it. That is the work of the clip. So these are some of the examples of the accessories we are talking about. Remember, I've always advised you, when you watch a video, pick the message from the video. Every video you watch has a particular message. We have talked about today the measuring instruments. We talked about the transformer that step up or step down voltage in order to protect our appliances at home. Then we also looked at the appliances that are being protected. We talked about the refrigerator. We talked about the blender, the ones we use at home. We talked about the microwave oven, and then we talked about many others. The air purifier, we talked about the water heater, and so many others too. Then we also looked at the instruments that are used to measure these things. Talk about the ammeter to measure current, voltmeter to measure voltage, multimeter to measure both current, voltage, and resistance. We talked about these are multimeter. We talked about to measure voltage, current, and we talked about the inductance, capacitance, and then resistance. Talking about the LCR, that is the instrument that is used to measure the two. That's, we said it resembles, or it's almost like the multimeter. We said multimeter is also called all-purpose instruments. Then these are the instruments, and then we talked about the accessories too that are added to make work done, or to get work job done. Then we talked about the lamp, that is the board where you say to that this light energy. Then we talked about the lamp holder where you fix the lamp. Talk about the junction box a point where you connect all the cables that come from different directions. Then we'll talk about the clip, the one that is to hold the cable. We'll talk about switch that is used to put off and put on the circuit. You remember we said we have the closed circuit and open circuit. The one that is used to open or close the circuit. I want to use a technological term now, not off and on. The one that is used to put off and put on the circuit. That is what I want to use there now. So, or to open, the one that is used to open or close a circuit. That is a better technological term too. When you say, I have closed this circuit, your mother may be asking you, what do you mean? I've closed this circuit. That means you close the circuit, you have on the switch. That is what you have just said. So you need to be educating people on all these things. I want to thank you very much for watching the video. God bless you. We will meet again and talk about other areas of the basic electricity. Watch your videos, read for your CBT. I don't want to see somebody scoring 2 over 20. It is very, very bad because we are putting more resources and our effort to make sure you get what you need, even in the midst of these challenges. We're doing our best to make sure you watch your video very well, you carry your notes. For this particular video, you put your note close to yourself. While you watch the video, you also read the notes. I don't think you have a problem. You have a problem in that particular topic, except you are not serious. Don't be a student that will be counted among the unserious one. God bless you. It is well with us all. Thank you very much.